guess I'll start by just saying that KP's status for tomorrow is still uncertain. He's been undergoing treatment and has seen the doctors here, and we'll know a little more tomorrow. But this may be a game time decision, similar to what Luka's was yesterday. As far as everybody else, no major physical issues, other than, Luka's ankles is doing well. He did well on it yesterday. And hopefully, today off the floor will help that as well.
Okay, we'll get started with Brad Townsend. Brad, go ahead.
Circling back on Porzingis, when exactly did you find out that he was having an issue before the game, and how close to game time did you actually have to make that decision? And is this similar or dissimilar to what happened, was going on in late December, early January?
I found out about KP's thing. It was in the locker room before the game. It was, I don't know, maybe 35 minutes before the game, something like that. It was before our meeting. I'm not authorized to give medical information. At least anything detailed. From what I understand, the situation is different than the one in January, and that's all I can tell you, and that's all I really want to get into.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next up is going to be Dwayne Price. Dwayne, go ahead.
Rick, what do you guys have to do in Game 5 in order to build off of what you did in Game 4, number one? And number two, what are your thoughts on guys like LeBron James, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, D Wade, all of them tweeting and celebrating that great shot that Luka did at the buzzer yesterday?
Yeah, I'll answer the first question first. We got to keep our guard up. Playoff series are very, very emotional. Can be very up and down. It can be difficult to come into the next game with the optimum level of force after an exuberant win like that. So that's going to be one of the things that we need to do. We got to keep attacking. We got to keep being as aggressive as possible and persistent as possible. And that shot, that's an iconic shot. That will live on for years and likely decades. And it's great to see, these iconic superstars, paying their respects, because those guys know how difficult a shot that is. And Luka made it look pretty easy, with 3.7 seconds to get the ball and, take two dribbles and then be able to set his feet and launch a shot like that. It's not an easy play.
Okay, next up is going to be Mark Followill. Mark, go ahead.
Hey, Rick, often we ask you questions about your messaging during games when you're down big and the fact that you preach about staying with it. We ask you about how you bounce back from difficult games. Dwayne's question alluded to this a little bit, but I wanted to hear you maybe elaborate a little bit more. What's the messaging like when you're preparing for the next game, when you're coming off such an emotional win, a dramatic win, something that I'm sure is probably pretty hard to come down from, but you have to do to get ready for the next game. So what's the messaging like to adapt to that situation as opposed to the situations we ask you about when you're trying to come back or bounce back?
A game like that needs to be celebrated. But when you move on to the next day in a playoff series, you gotta move forward and objectively study the things that happen throughout the game. I mean, a 21-point deficit in the first half means that, we're doing a lot of things. That it means that we can do an awful lot of things better during that period of time. We did some things to get more aggressive with Leonard. They will adjust, and so we need to have other adjustments ready. Today, we talked about, the fact that everything we're doing, we're gonna need to do at a higher level in Game 5. And then the general messaging though is what I said to Dwayne, and that is that we got to keep our guard up. We've got to keep attacking, and we've got to be the more persistent team. I mean, that's how we've got to approach this. And you want to keep messaging as simple as possible and to the point as possible. And we just, we've got to play to exhaustion, and then I've got to manage the minutes accordingly.
Okay, next up is going to be Callie Kaplan. Callie, go ahead.
Hey, Rick. I know this doesn't go along with keeping your guard up, but I'm curious. Yesterday, after Luka hit that shot, was one of the few times, maybe this season, that you've had visible joy and celebration on the sideline. So I was curious, what was going through your mind? What were you thinking in that moment?
I was just really happy for our team. I'm very happy for Luka. Those kind of moments. They're special. There's no other way to say it. And I've been over the years fortunate to coach players, that have created a lot of those moments. Guys like Reggie Miller, Chauncey Billups. Luka's had some similar type situations in the regular season. Vince Carter hit the big shot back in 2014 in Game 3 against San Antonio. During my 11 years with Dirk, he hit no less than 8 or 9 game winners. But when they happen in the playoffs, in that moment, on that stage, there's something that's extra special about it. But it, as Mark Followill mentioned, and Dwayne brought it up too, in a certain way, it also creates a challenge, to go from that moment to the next game with the optimum disposition, posture, and level of force, and that's going to be a necessity, in Game 5. But I was happy, don't get me wrong. I've been around this long enough to realize that you've got to celebrate moments like that, and to be overtly exuberant about it. That's a human emotion that needs to come out, and I think you saw it from everybody. In our bench area, everybody from players to coaches, trainers, support staff. Our security guy, you name it. I mean, it's a special moment, but now we've got to move forward.
Okay, next up is going to be Tim McMahon. Tim?
Rick, did Porzingis' MRI show anything wrong structurally?
I can't get into that. Number one, I don't have the full debrief on it. Number two, I think it violates HIPAA laws to get into that. But he's not been ruled out for Game 5. And look, a lot of this is going to be hour to hour, minute to minute type stuff, probably into the later stages of tomorrow. And the game, once again, I believe is at 9 tomorrow night. So it may be late in the day, late in the evening before we know for sure.
Okay, next up is going to be Saad Yusuf. Saad, go ahead.
But Tim, I will say that there's nothing on the MRI that has ruled him out a day before the game, and that's good news. So I think we can take some stock in that, and we'll just have to see where we are tomorrow.
All right, Saad, go ahead.
Hey, Rick, I'm curious how you view this situation with Paul George. Obviously, the kind of player he's proven to be throughout his career, but he's having a really rough series. You talk about not like falling asleep at the wheel in general in the series. How about when it comes to guarding Paul George and just the slump that he seems to be in?
He's a great player. He's got a lot of playoff experience. We've just got to keep trying to make it as difficult as we can for him and Leonard, and Lou Will too. I mean, let's face it, Lou Will. He scored over a point a minute yesterday. I mean, it's just the guy's a walking bucket. I mean, these guys are very, very challenging guys to play. We have ultimate respect for all three of those guys and really their entire team. And look, when you're in a long playoff series, you don't ever get feeling too good about, a great player that's had a couple of off games. I mean, we've just got to keep having ultimate respect for him and just trying to make it as difficult as possible.
Okay, our last question is going to be Davide. Davide, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. You started this series as the underdog. You're now 2-2 after an incredible game. What does this result say about your team?
Well, we fought extremely hard to be in this position. I've been a head coach 18 years in this league now. Been involved in over 300 playoff games since I started playing in 1984. I don't know that I've seen a situation where a team demonstrated the level of fight that we did yesterday, and that's got to continue. And that's got to be a constant. Whether we're ahead, whether we're behind. I mean, that's got to be our process. But look, it's that simple. We can't exhale. And I've used the phraseology, can't let our guard down. It's all those things. Thank you.
That'll do it. Thanks, Rick. We'll see you tomorrow night.